Hello everyone, I'm the Saxy Gamer, and today we're here for yet another Civilization 6 Leader Spotlight, where today we'll be taking a look at yet another one of the new leader personas in the New Frontier Pass, and that is Magnificence Catherine. Just like with Rough Rider Teddy, I'm not going to go super in-depth with everything about this leader because I've already covered Catherine previously, so I'll link her leader spotlight below, and I'll just go over the things that are different with Magnificence Catherine. And I know with Catherine especially, there have been things that have changed since I did the original leader spotlight, so we're going to talk about those too. So let's go ahead and get right into things with Magnificence Catherine. So very fittingly, Magnificence Catherine's first ability is named Catherine's Magnificences, which is just a little bit ridiculous, but it makes it so that your improved luxury resources adjacent to theater square districts or chateaus receive +2 culture, and you also gain the Court Festival project in cities with theater square districts. So what the Court Festival does is it will give you 50 culture and 50 tourism output from every excess luxury resource that you have improved across your empire. So if you think about it, as we've learned from the amenities in-depth video, you're only able to actually gain 4 amenities from 1 copy of a luxury resource. Everything after that does nothing. But with Magnificence Catherine, say that you have, 2 copies of oranges improved in your empire. Therefore, you will have 1 excess copy, so that will be 50 culture and 50 tourism if you complete this project. And, maybe if you have 2 extra copies of oranges and 3 extra copies of, furs or something like that, then whenever you finish this project, you'll get 250 culture and 250 tourism. This is really strong, especially if you're able to get these amenities improved early on, because 250 tourism early on in the game is like huge, 250 culture is pretty huge as well in the early game. So this is balanced a little bit out by the production cost of this project. I find that it is quite high in comparison to all of the other projects, and you do have to do it in a pretty well-built city, otherwise it's going to take like literally 30 or 40 turns to complete, which obviously not that worth it. But aside from that, Catherine's other ability is Grand Tour, which is the standard France ability, so you're going to get some extra production towards your medieval, Renaissance, and industrial era wonders, and also you're going to double your tourism output from wonders of every single era. So this bonus tourism is extra good if you are able to build wonders early on, because the earlier you build the wonders, the more tourism they will produce in the later eras of the game, so doubling that will give you even more of a bonus. But either way, it's very nice for Culture Victory because there are some crucial wonders that you need to get whenever you're playing Culture Victory, so being able to get them a little bit easier with this bonus production is pretty good as well. Let's move on to Catherine's unique unit, which is the Garde Impériale. So this is a unique unit that doesn't replace anything. It's totally unique, and it is unlocked with the military science technology, and the main shtick with it is that it's going to get extra combat strength when you are fighting on your capital's home continent. So this is, it's pretty good for defense, or if you're trying to take out another neighbor on your own continent, because it is +10 combat strength, and also you're going to get some great general points from any kills that you get with these units. So it's a fairly decent unique unit. It's pretty useless for domination, because eventually whenever you're playing a domination game, you have to go to some other continent, and this late in the game you're probably going to be already at that point. But for either defending or just beating up on one of your neighbors, this is actually a fairly decent unique unit, and one that you can make use of to get a good power spike. For Catherine's unique tile improvement, we have the Chateau, which is a tile improvement that must be placed along a river, and it will give some culture and some gold. So by default it gives 2 culture, and it will give also 1 appeal to all surrounding tiles. And it will give 1 culture for every adjacent wonder, and this eventually increases to +2 whenever you hit flight, and you also get 1 gold on the Chateau tile for every adjacent luxury resource. So this was buffed from the last time that I covered Catherine, because I believe at that point it was only 1 culture flat, but now it is 2 culture flat, so slightly better than before. It's still not, admittedly, an outstanding tile improvement, just because there's only so many that you can put in your land since they have to be next to the rivers, but these can be good for giving culture to luxury resource tiles as well, because then those tiles end up with some pretty decent yields because of Magnificence Catherine's ability. And the Chateau as a whole, I think, is still worthwhile to put down along rivers if you can, just because it is still culture and it can be gold, and sometimes you can get some pretty decent tile yields on them, and you really can spam down a lot. So Chateau, it's not one of the best unique tile improvements of the game, but it's definitely not terrible either. So now it is that time to talk about the strengths and weaknesses of the new Magnificence Catherine of France. So for her first strength, and probably the best thing about her, is that she can generate lots of tourism before anyone else, just because of that Court Festival project that she has. So if you remember from, I believe it's the Culture Victory in-depth video, the way to win Culture Victory is by generating effectively more tourism per turn than other people are generating culture per turn. So early on in the game, if you have a lot of excess luxuries, you can get a ton of tourism from running the Court Festival project, which can mean you can get literally, like in some cases, a sub one turn, 150 or even turn 100 culture victory just by running this, this district project before people are really generating any culture. And this is something that it's really good if you're able to hit the spike like that where it works out, but it is very spawn reliant as well because you have to have a lot of excess luxuries, but if you're able to make it work, it can be really, really strong. So easily one of the best things about Magnificence Catherine is her new Court Festival district project, and also just the fact that she's much more focused on culture victory than the existing Catherine was. The other really good thing about Magnificence Catherine, and just really for France in general, is that since Magnificence Catherine is pretty hard focused on culture victory, it is also easier to get the important culture victory wonders such as such as Cristo Redentor and the Eiffel Tower, because they are industrial era wonders, which you do get your production bonus towards. So because it's so easy to get those whenever you're playing, well, I shouldn't say so easy, but because it is easier, that's definitely a thing that's very important for, especially Magnificence Catherine, who really her only win condition is culture victory, and the fact that you get extra production towards those wonders that you practically need for culture victory, this is a really, really nice thing about her. As far as her weaknesses are concerned, though, they are pretty predictable, as I mentioned. For one, she is spawn reliant. You need to have a lot of extra luxury resources if you're able to use the court festival effectively, so that is something to keep in mind. The other thing is that she just has a very, very slow start. Her first things that really, kind of give her some strength, like her unique tile improvement, her unique unit, they all come a little bit later on in the game. You don't really get anything in the ancient and classical eras, so she does have a bit of a slow start compared to a lot of other leaders, which can leave you pretty vulnerable early on in the game. And now it is that time to give Magnificence Catherine her tier ratings. So if you're new to the series, all that you need to know here is that these ratings are on the standard tier ranking scale. So S is the highest tier, and then A, B, C, D, and F go below that. So for her domination victory rating, I think she deserves a C. She doesn't really have too much going for her as far as domination victory is concerned, just because, she really has no bonuses, but she does have the Guard Imperial, which can be used to beat up your nearest neighbor. It is a fairly good unique unit once you reach it, but as I mentioned before, it's not available early on, which is generally when you want to be going and beating up your nearest neighbors, so that is something that sucks. And then aside from that, she really doesn't have that many bonuses, and unlike the other version of Catherine, she doesn't have the extra diplomatic visibility over people, so she doesn't have that permanent +3 combat strength boost that the other Catherine does get. So for those reasons, you still can play a little bit domination-y, but I think it's not really that spectacular in comparison to just no bonuses at all, so that's why she deserves the C. Science Victory is up next, and once again, I think that she deserves a C. Really no reason to go for a Science Victory, but also nothing stopping you from doing so, so for those reasons, she deserves the C there as well. Culture Victory is up next, and I think that she deserves an A. She is a pretty good cultural leader. She's definitely better than the existing version of Catherine in terms of Culture Victory, just because you're able to get some appeal and some culture from your chateau improvements. You're able to build those critical Culture Victory wonders a little bit faster, and you do get double tourism from your wonders as well. So in general, in most games, the thing that will eventually win you a Culture Victory is things like seaside resorts, national parks, and rock bands. She doesn't really get that many bonuses towards those, which is why she's not in S tier, but she gets bonuses towards a lot of other things related to Culture Victory, so for those reasons, I think she deserves the A in Culture Victory. And let's go over Religion and Diplomacy last. So she's going to receive a C in both these areas, pretty much for the same reason she receives C's in a lot of the other things. So there's nothing really stopping her from going for either of these victory types, but she's also not really getting any bonuses to them, so for those reasons, she is deserving of the C. And for her overall ranking, I think that she deserves a B. She's a pretty decent leader. She's definitely not bad by any standards, and I do think that she is better than the existing version of Catherine, or the base game version of Catherine, I should say, just because base game Catherine is kind of, conflicted. Her ability that gives the diplomatic favor, or the diplomatic visibility level and spies, has nothing to do with the rest of her abilities, which wants to, make her play a culture game, but that is solved with Magnificence Catherine because she is pretty much focused on Culture Victory, and she has abilities that all work nicely together in order to get her towards one. So for those reasons, definitely at least a decent leader and well deserving of the B tier ranking. So thank you everyone for watching. I have been the Zaxy Gamer. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to like. If not, feel free to dislike. If you're looking for some more Civilization 6 content, feel free to subscribe. Thank you for watching, and goodbye.